Hi, my name is Howard Noble and I'm here to talk to you about FGASmanager, a new piece of software that we've developed to help save you money and to help you comply with the FGAS regulations easily and quickly. Let's have a look. So, FGASmanager, how does FGAS affect you? Well, FGAS means that we've got a phase down in the use of HFC refrigerants. We have increasing restrictions with regard to the equipment that FGASes can be used on and in. There's an introduction of mandatory leak tests for certain size systems. And the system needs to be labelled in a specific manner in line with the Kyoto Protocol agreement. And added to which, you need to control cylinder charges. You need to try and avoid cylinder charges as much as possible. So what does this mean then? Effectively, it means more work. As a contractor, these regulations become more onerous over time, and what we've tried to do is to develop a system that makes it easy for you to comply with regulations quickly and effectively. To review what you need to do, you have to record refrigerant added to and extracted from systems. You also aren't allowed to vent refrigerant to atmosphere, and you have to be able to prove that you comply with these regulations, i.e. if you buy a bottle of refrigerant, you need to be able to demonstrate where the refrigerant has gone. And again, from the point of view of more work, you need to track and remember when cylinders need to be returned at any given time. Coupled to which, you could have purchased refrigerant cylinders from various different suppliers. So, let's talk about cylinder charges and why do we have them? Let me ask you a question. How many refrigeration cylinders do you think that we have in circulation today as a business? 10,000, 20,000? Significant number. 85,000 cylinders, which is worth an estimated £6.4 million just in the cylinder charges alone. Our refrigerant bottling plants stock cylinders to allow them to package and bottle the product to send to you, and they've got about 1 million cylinders all in total. Huge investment from their point of view. And these cylinders belong to them, and we need to return them, because if we return them, then we can refill them and get them back into circulation for you to be able to purchase. Let's have a look at how many cylinders are in circulation after 2 years. Bearing in mind at the 2-year point, you will be paying a non-return fee, so therefore you would expect most cylinders to have been returned by the 2-year point. In reality, it's 45,000 cylinders are still outstanding. Huge number. Let's have a look at more than 10 years. At the 10-year point, every cylinder is legally required to be tested. And yet, we have 12,000 cylinders that are still outstanding. A huge number. So we'd like them back, because if we have them back, we can bottle them and send them back out so that you can buy them when it gets busy. They're worth £1 million, the 10-year plus. So, would you be interested if we could provide an easy way for you to record refrigerant usage and recovery of refrigerant? Make it simple to generate reports to prove your compliance. Automatically generate waste collection notes and collection notes for empty cylinders. And help you avoid cylinder charges, which may well be, as I had earlier, from multiple suppliers. So, we've launched FGASmanager. And FGASmanager stores all the data that you can see with a green A against it automatically. As soon as you register, this data will be on your site. Where there's a U, that is where actually you can enter data. And by entering data and using the full functionality of the system, it gives you some fantastic features. And we'll have a look at that next. So, what is FGASmanager? FGASmanager gives you a database that is easily accessible to provide you with all sorts of functionality. The first screen there showing you a pie chart that shows how many cylinders you have in your possession at any one time and how long you've had them for. That's linked to a diary function, and the diary function allows you to see up and coming charges and allow you to anticipate when you need to return cylinders. It also advises you when hazardous waste notes are going to be collected. The cylinder function shows you all the details about every cylinder that's in your possession, and hazardous notes can be raised on the system, as can collection notes automatically. Really easy to put together. We also can look at transactional information, i.e. where refrigerant has gone to and from. We can also generate equipment logs for all the equipment that you look after on site. You can register them on the system in complete confidence and generate your own QR codes so that you can put those on the equipment, which you'll see later is a great benefit when it comes to recording refrigerant being removed or added to any given system. And we have a report generator, which allows you to comply with requirements from your clients and also any regulatory bodies that want to inspect your records. You can also add in your own engineers and administrators through the user control function, and this is in complete confidence on the system. All of the data is protected, we don't see any of it. And last, there is a user guide, and the user guide is really easy to use, adds basic functionality, covers all the points that you need quickly and simply. So let's have a look at the functions within it, and we'll start off with the dashboard. As I said before, the dashboard itself is a pie chart. And in the pie chart, as you can see, it covers, and each colour relates to how long you've had a cylinder in your possession. And by clicking on one of the segments, that tells you how many cylinders there are outstanding, and click again, and you can actually start to look at the detail of which cylinders you've got. Then you can see who's got them, how much refrigerant is left in them, and you can plan to return them. That shows you there some of the detail that's available when you click on the system, giving all the basic information that's auto-populated, including, as you can see, rental dates, rental due dates, red being overdue, or have been invoiced, and the non-return charge when that's been charged out. Other information that's available on there would be the original refrigerant weight, the remaining weight in there, and I'll talk about that later, and the supplier that you purchased it from. So, gives you a great overview of the cylinders that you have. Mentioned before about helping you avoid cylinder charges. And one way we're doing that is being totally upfront by having a diary function. The diary function, which is accessible by going into the software, clearly shows when cylinders are due to be charged for. Rental charges, so when you've got the first initial period, the first 6 months. When there's a non-return charge, i.e. you've had that after 2 years, so your first 6 months are free, the balance of 18 months are chargeable, and then after the 2-year period you have a non-return charge. So it tells you when that's due. It'll also tell you when we're going to collect any waste that you've asked us to collect, and any cylinder collections that are going to take place that you've requested. If they're showing on the diary, they've been confirmed by the local branch who's going to carry out the collection. And last but not least, just a simple way of informing you when system maintenance may take place. By clicking on any of the given buttons on the diary, you can then look at the information of which cylinder it relates to and which waste note it relates to. And by clicking on that, you can straight away see a PDF of the waste note that is applicable to that particular date. All of this is fed by the cylinder data that's already within the system. If we go to the cylinder tab on the website and look at it immediately brings up a load of data, including the cylinder number, our given part number, a whole raft of information, including type of refrigerant, cylinder size, etc. When the cylinders are due to be returned, or when there's a non-return charge due to be levied, and also can show you the original refrigerant weight contained within the cylinder itself. You can also generate from that all sorts of statements, and you can export the data to use as you wish or to import into your own service management package. And as you'll find as I talk about this throughout the software, the search function is great, and it really is very easy to enter a combination of words and letters, and it will go and find what you're looking for, which is really helpful when we come onto system data. And by clicking on any one of those, you're given a detail of any of the transactions that may have taken place for that given cylinder. So, we know about the cylinders, we know what's in them, and we know when you pick them up. On the hazardous waste notes, this is really good function for us. The hazardous waste note is always an onerous task to generate and do all the paperwork for this. But by going into the cylinders tab, clicking on the hazardous waste note, you can raise a haz note for not only refrigerant but also oil, which is a really good feature. And by selecting where you purchase the refrigerant from for the particular cylinders you want to return, then you can select the cylinder that has the hazardous product in it. That then asks you for various questions. You fill in details about where the refrigerant's been generated, where it's being returned from, when you'd like it to be collected or when you're returning it, along with various other details such as where the product is and what refrigerant is in the cylinder that's being returned, and you automatically get a hazardous waste note in PDF function. So you just need to print that off, sign the relevant documentation, and you have generated your own hazardous waste note with great ease. Fantastic system. So let's talk about collection notes now. So the collection note is exactly the same sort of function. You go in to the cylinders tab, click on the collection and enter detail. Very simple, just answer the questions on the tab. One of the beautiful functions of this for you and for us is that there is also the ability to say where you've left for the cylinders if we're collecting, which is great. Refrigerant transactions, this allows you to look where you've actually used refrigerant, where you've taken it from and to. So also all the cylinders that you possess are in here, together with icons that show you what actions you've already taken with the cylinders. Through the search function, you can search for any given site, any given engineer, any given system, and be able to find the transaction that you're looking for. I'll cover that a little bit later on. And the little icons help you focus in on what you're looking for in a table format. And then when you click on a particular cylinder, I've chosen this one at the top first, then you can see there it shows you the transactions that have all been carried out since you collected the bottle to point of return. Really useful. You can also, within this particular section, allocate engineers to bottles or bottles to engineers and record refrigerant movements. Allocating a cylinder to a particular engineer is a great idea because then, especially if you've got a number of engineers, you know who's got it. The app will, in the future, allow you to be able to transfer bottles between engineers as well. So it should be easy to trace who's got what. And also you can manually enter details of refrigerant that you've entered into any given system by, again, simply entering in the type of refrigerant, the weights, details of the site, the job that you're working on, your customer's details, and the dates and the equipment that you've fitted it to. You're all recording data which at a later date your transaction report will just be fully featured and effective. So let's look at another feature which is down to you to use, and that is the equipment log. As I mentioned before, all of the data that you put in here is confidential. We can't see it at all. But you can add into the system, effectively build your own database. When you go in and add a new system, you add in all your customers' details, the location, the equipment that you've actually installed, including the serial number details, maybe the refrigerant charge as well, because at a later date we're going to allow the diary function to suggest when you need to carry out leak tests. That would be just a great addition to this and another way of easing the workload that you have. Once you've done that, then you can print a label and you can print your own QR code. We are looking to make this adaptable so that you can have your logo in the top right hand side, but the data on here complies with the Kyoto Protocol, and you can either print that off and keep that as a data sheet for reference in the van, or you can print it off in label format and actually fit it to the equipment itself. Now that would really help, as I'll show you in a moment. That would be a great benefit to you. Which brings me on to the app. We have Android and iPhone apps that are going to be available at launch, and this gives ease of use when you come to recording refrigerant. It's not easy when you're an engineer and you've got all sorts of pressures of getting to site, signing in, doing the relevant paperwork, and I'm sure the addition of the FGAS regulations hasn't helped. This, we think, actually will help you considerably. So we've got a bit of kit on site. You've raised a QR code, you've registered it on the system, you've printed the QR code and you've stuck it onto the bit of kit. You have a system. You have a bottle of refrigerant in the van. With that is a barcode. So you have a bottle of refrigerant. and you've got an app. By scanning the QR code and scanning the serial number of the cylinder, you can track refrigerant in and refrigerant out just by answering a couple of basic questions. And it really is as simple as that. Very effective. Once you've done that, that then means that you've got an equipment log that by piece of equipment you can see what refrigerant you've put in or taken out, which is fantastic. And you can search through this using that powerful search function, and it becomes your own database of equipment that you look after and maintain. So yeah, I think we'll develop this further, and we will move this on to hopefully being able for you to raise job sheets on here as well. And again, search function is really easy. So once you've got the details in, even if you only know part of the data, you will be able to find it. And you can run your own reports from this, whether that's for your own use, maybe when you're tendering and you want to look at what sort of costs you've had associated with it, or when your customer asks what refrigerant have we used, then you'll be able to run it off by system. Really good function. And under your control is generate the label, generate a job sheet, a log of all the transactions that are taken place, edit the equipment, maybe you've changed it for something else, or delete it, all in your control. Okay, so far we've got a lot of cylinder data in there, and if you're using all the functionality of it, you've got the engineers' names in there, you have systems in there and your customers' names in there, then you can go onto a report generator. And from the report generator, you can actually choose a number of different reports, including a cylinder analysis, who you've allocated the cylinders to, a statement for any given cylinder or number of cylinders, all the way through to the transactions that have taken place, the equipments that you've got listed within the system, and also the users that you've got, the engineers. And you can either view that on the screen, or you can print that in PDF, export it as a CSV, so you can use that maybe in your service management package, or you can just send it to good old Excel. I mentioned a moment ago about the engineers, that down to you to add in the engineers. We call them add users. They could be administrators, which would give you the ability to add engineers, to add equipment data and such like, or you can just allocate users, which would be typically the engineers on site. And that's very simple in adding in all the necessary details for the given engineer, and they're logged on there, again, in total confidence. It's all the information is yours. And once you've done that, you can then see all the different engineers that you have, the cylinders that they hold, how much refrigerant is left in the cylinders. A really powerful tool. Now, I've breezed through that quite quickly, but as I mentioned earlier, there is an online user manual, which is very easy to access. It's on the website, and it's in basic language, so it's very easy to follow. So, how do you use FGASmanager? Well, if you've got an account with us already, just go online and you'll be able to enter all the basic details, and within 24 hours you'll be up and running. And if you're not have an account with us at the present moment in time, please speak to the local branch, apply for an account, and you'll have full functionality straight away, providing you buy refrigerant from us. So let's just do a conclusion. FGASmanager records refrigerant usage with really minimal effort. It makes it simple to generate reports to prove your compliance. It automatically generates waste notes and collection notes, takes away that onerous task, and helps you build an asset database, which is really useful for you. And it helps you avoid cylinder charges. So why wouldn't you use FGASmanager? It's free.